Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who would never mock Tommy DeVito's signature celebration. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Not the best week for Tommy Cutlets. I almost whipped my hat off my head on that headbang. A little too aggressive this week, I think.
Okay, I think the right amount of aggressive, Kyle.
It was a wild week. We had a lot going on this week. I still haven't quite figured out what happened in Washington, Dallas, but we're going to just have to talk that out, I guess, later today. So can't wait to get to it.
We'll talk through it. This was an all-time witching hour in the early window. It cooled off a bit this Sunday. Not the best games down the stretch, but still some competitive games in the 4 o'clock window, and even the Sunday night football game was interesting. So yeah, plenty to talk about here, Kyle.
Yeah, plenty to talk about. We're heading into now week. What is this? Week 11? So we're getting to week 12 now, or week 12?
No,
sorry,
this is week 12.
Going to week 13. I can't count anymore. So yeah, week 12 in the books almost after Monday night, and it's almost playoff time. There's a lot to talk about, a lot at stakes in a lot of these games.
Yeah, I mean, a ton to talk about. In fact, we can just get into it, why don't we, with the Eagles-Rams game. As always, we start off with the Sunday show. Saquon Barkley ends the day with nearly 10 yards per carry on 26 carries. He has 255 rushing yards, which I believe was an Eagles franchise record. I would expect so. Jalen Hurts had 179 passing. He didn't even come close to what Saquon Barkley was able to do rushing. I mean, that was kind of the game. The Rams looked like they were going to make a game of this early, but I mean, the story was just the Eagles and their great play at the line.
Yeah, line of scrimmage dominated both sides of this game. I thought, especially the defensive line continues to look terrific. Look, I mean, this Eagles team's 9-2 for a reason. They are really talented, and I think if you're going to put them on the field against a lot of teams, they are going to out-talent a lot of teams. I still have a few questions, even though I still have questions about this offense, but at the same time, they keep checking every box and keep looking terrific. And I mean, during this win streak, they have looked awesome. They looked awesome in this game. They looked awesome against Washington at times, the Cowboys game. I mean, they've really given me a lot of reasons to buy into this team, and I think that they're going to continue to look terrific. And I mean, this is probably the closest we're seeing to Detroit right now, right? Would you call this the second best team in football based off just performance lately?
Football, that's interesting. I mean, because you got to throw Buffalo in there, I think. I think I would probably still go Buffalo over Philadelphia, but I think they're 3. I think you're probably right about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're absolutely there. I mean, when they have Brown and Saquon, I mean, it's just a different ball game. Like, it just really is. I mean, those guys add such huge elements to this team. Your favorite thing is happening right now. Did you see the news? There's been buzzing. People are buzzing. MVP buzzing.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, I heard Chris Collinsworth for the entire fourth quarter talking about Saquon Barkley being the MVP.
Yeah. Yeah, it's out in the ether right now. They're going to be talking about it all tomorrow. I mean, he'll be a good offensive player of the year candidate.
Sure. I think he will win offensive player of the year. I think that's, I don't have to go through it. If you think a running back is more valuable than a quarterback, okay, go ahead. I'm not going to, I think there's enough information out there for you to not have that opinion, and you are choosing to have it anyway. So I'm just going to let you have it.
Yeah, that's probably fair. But yeah, I didn't even think Stafford in this passing game played that bad. But like, there was also 5 sacks, and it felt like there could have been more. And I mean, they were just in the backfield the whole game. I mean, all these guys played terrific. Brandon Graham was awesome in this game. Josh Sweat, Jalen Carter. I mean, all these guys I felt like really stepped up and had some big impactful plays on the defensive line. And yeah, I mean, I think it affected the whole game.
The one thing I'm thinking of is let's skip ahead here. Let's get ahead of ourselves. If the Eagles are the 2 seed and the Lions are the 1 seed, which is what I think we both think is going to happen, can the Eagles do it? Can the Eagles get it out of the NFC? I mean, they have a really good offensive line. We did see Jordan Mailata got blown up by Jared Verse on that one play, but like their offensive line, I mean, they should be able to pass block pretty well against Detroit. That's kind of the one thing Detroit's one weakness. The defense did give up some stuff here against the Rams, but like, is this a team that could go all the way in the NFC?
I don't think it's crazy to say they could beat Detroit. Like I think they'd be in the conversation. I think the big thing for Detroit, like if they have Arnold and Davis at those corner spots, like that's going to be a huge part of that deciding factor for me. Just because, like, I think that we saw the game without Terry on Arnold today, and I thought their other corner really struggled. So having those two guys out there, I think is going to be a huge factor. But overall, like, I don't think it's crazy to say Philadelphia can win that game. They still have a ton of talent. I mean, they may be just as talented on paper as Detroit. So, I think they could win it. Would I pick them to win it? I'd still think I'd pick Detroit, but I think it should be a close game. I think that's like I said, I think those are the best 2 teams I've seen lately. So, if they're going head to head, I think it's anyone's game.
The Eagles maybe could be the first team ever to win the Super Bowl and fire their head coach immediately after.
That would be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nick Sirianni has now saved his job at this point.
I think so. It's insane. We're like, I was thinking about this. If it's any other fan base, you know that the fans are going to be like pro their head coach, and like everyone's trying to put them into that. Everyone will be trying to put that head coach. Like if Nick Sirianni was the head coach of the Dolphins and the Dolphins were 9-2, Dolphins we'd all be putting them like, oh, is coach of the year candidate? Like, look at how well they're doing. But because it's the Eagles and they always hate all their head coaches, it's like the complete opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a fascinating NFC right now. I mean, we have 4 teams that feel like they've separated from the pack at this point. Maybe 3, because I mean, the Vikings are 9-2, but so there's 4 teams with 8 wins or more already. And yeah, I think that there's definitely a top 2, and then maybe Green Bay's third for me. And I think anything beyond that, I'd be pretty surprised if they're representing the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Okay, bit of a hot take with not having the Vikings third, but we'll talk about them. Well, let's move on. I think let's go to. I mentioned there were really 2 just absolutely insane games to happen in the 1 o'clock window, so let's go to those 2 first. First, let's talk some balls. The Cowboys. First off, I believe the score with 6 minutes left was 13-9. This final score ends up 34 to 26. Actually, I have it wrong on the banner, but this was, I would say, through the first 55 minutes of this game, 5 minutes of football happened, and then the last 5 minutes of the game, 55 minutes worth of football happened.
Yeah, I mean, it went absolutely crazy because I mean that last play to McLaurin, the touchdown that would have possibly tied the game, you know, was insane. I mean, that's a fantastic throw, that's a fantastic run. That's the kind of play you watch, and it's like the NFL films thing happens, and this is how Washington wins this game. Now, all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, this is another missed extra point. They missed 2 extra points in this game. That's obviously a huge influence on the outcome. And then that weird, onside kick return for a touchdown just gets even crazier. And then, we hit that point where it is it's the end of the game there. And I don't know, this Washington team, they just kind of hit a wall this season, right? I mean, they've played 2 good teams in this Cowboys team, but like, I think it's fair to just say that I don't know if it was the previous rib injury or something. I think Jaden Daniels has cooled off a little bit. He did come alive a bit in the second half of this game, but it wasn't enough for me. And, I thought he struggled in the first half. I thought that was a big part of them, having this slow start. And this felt like a get right game, and Washington did not get right. And that's kind of the concern I have.
Yeah. I mean, first to talk about the ending a little bit more, it wasn't even that, like, there was a crazy kick return touchdown before all this happened, where it looked like it was going to be a disaster. Turpin bobbled the kick return and then did like a spin move that somehow worked and was able to get all the way to the end zone. So absolute insanity. I agree. I think the craziness of this ending almost like has us forget that like the Commanders really played poorly against the Dallas Cowboys, that every team was dominating and lost this game. I mean, yeah, there's no getting around it. Daniels has not played as well these past few games. And you're right. It might be a lingering injury, but he's out there and they need him to play better.
Yeah, they really do. And like I said, he played much better in the second half of this game. But it's just like what we've seen from this Dallas team so far this season, you should not be 3-3 at halftime. You just shouldn't. Right. And yeah, I mean, Micah Parsons coming out, making some impact plays in this game. I mean, honestly, I mean, we could have a Trayvon Diggs conversation just alone for him not playing in this game.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and they looked a lot better defensively this game for some whatever reason it was. But yeah, so they made some plays. Washington did make some plays down the stretch, but it just felt like Dallas managed to limit its mistakes. And I mean, they didn't even really limit their mistakes. They had 2 missed field goals in the first half. They had a fumble in the first half. They had like a deflected punt in the first half. Like all this stuff, like they didn't even have a special teams advantage, and they scored 2 special teams touchdowns. Like just
Hmm.
such a bizarre game overall. Like everything, it felt like just one of the sloppiest games I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, we have a chat. Someone says, "Would they have won if Mariota was out there?" And part of me feels like the reason why Daniels played not that great in the first 3 quarters was because of injury, he shouldn't have been out there. Like I think teams
Mhm.
overthink this stuff too much. I'd rather have a healthy backup than an injured starter, and usually, so yeah, maybe I don't know. Um, it's the Commanders. We sort of touched on this. They're still in an okay spot to make the playoffs, but
Mhm.
it's now a question. It was kind of not a
Yeah.
question had they just taken care of business in these winnable games. They now have to make sure that they, really probably have to make sure to get 11 wins here, which they can do. Their 5 final games are the Titans, the Saints, the Eagles, the Falcons, and the Cowboys. But the Falcons game is no guarantee. You drop those 2 games, you might be out of the playoffs. So that game in the Eagles. So it's a big loss. It is.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's a tough situation. They got to get some wins here down the stretch. They do have winnable games, like you said. You
Mhm.
illustrated they have the opportunity here, but it just comes down to, you got to execute a lot better than you have these last 3 weeks. This is not the team that we saw earlier in the season saying that could they make a run, and I mean, the division's out of the question at this point based on the way Philly's playing and based on the way
Mhm.
this team is not playing. So you got to find a way to close that gap down the stretch just to hold off some of these teams coming like Tampa Bay and such.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the Cowboys? Probably not going with Daniel Jones now. Cooper Rush played all right.
Was it actually rumored that they were going to sign Daniel Jones?
I think it was announced that it wasn't going to happen, but I was still hopeful.
Mm.
Would have made the Thanksgiving game at least watchable.
That would have been pretty funny.
Mhm.
I mean, I figured they were going to go with Cooper Rush anyway.
Yeah.
Like, he's just been there. But no, I mean, it's still, it's nice to get a win, I think, as a team and kind of, it'd been so like, it'd been so sad. Like, it's been a very
Hmm.
sad team to watch and like talk about. And so I'm sure that they're, needed some morale boosting here after that 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, maybe Micah Parsons matters a lot. He had a couple sacks here. That definitely helped. Also, another bad coaching moment by the Cowboys. You saw that. I forget who it was, but the Cowboys player recovers the onside kick. If he falls down, they can just take a knee and win the game. They're up a point. He instead returns it for a touchdown, essentially giving the Commanders another chance. Which, like, you just saw what they can do. Why are you doing this again? I know you want the touchdown. You saw John Fossil and Mike McCarthy like talking to each other on the sideline. Like, why did he do that? It's like, guys, there's a reason why, I don't know. This never happened to the Patriots. The Patriots never, with Bill Belichick, never had a situation where players scored a touchdown instead of doing what was best for the team.
Yeah. You know what, though? Jay Thomas, what's his name? What was his first name again? I can't even remember it, honestly. It had been
I
such a
forgot.
long day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That guy's probably going to score 1 touchdown for his career.
Uh-huh.
Junior Thomas, go score your touchdown, man. I don't care. I don't care
Okay.
what's best for the team. You are going to have this moment for the rest of your life. That's all that matters.
That's true. That's fair. You're not wrong. You can post the screenshots of you celebrating in the end zone, your name under it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. You won the game. If they lost the game, and I'd be upset, but like it put you up 8. Go score your touchdown. I don't care.
Yeah, I agree. Probably might have even been all right to go for 2 in that situation. I don't know. Kyle, let's get to the other absolutely insane game. So the Vikings were looking like they were just coasting to a victory, as we kind of expected. The Bears hung around, but the Vikings end up kicking a field goal to go up 2 scores late. So looks like it's over. There's then a long kick return. So the Bears like, okay, less than 2 minutes left, no timeouts, down 2 scores, might as well, run a drive, get some practice in. They score a touchdown, go for 2 and get it to make it a 3-point game with 22 seconds left. They convert the onside kick and then get a long play to allow them to kick the game tying field goal and go to overtime. It was a weird kick where it almost looked like it was hooking wide and then went back, ended up going right down the middle. And then so that happens. The Bears win the coin toss, but ultimately Caleb Williams takes a sack early on. They punt the ball away. Sam Darnold, who was great in this game, was also great in overtime. He converts a couple important plays, including a 3rd down and 10 early on. And the Vikings survive. The Bears continue to find ways to lose games. Kyle, what was your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think you saw again more development from Caleb Williams and the Chicago side, and yeah, I think you saw Sam Darnold play a terrific football game. I thought he was really good in this one. That overtime drive was, I mean, that overtime drive might be the best drive of his career, and that's not even like hyperbole. But yeah, he was really good in this game, and Jordan Addison obviously had a big game, and it finally felt like they were able to punish a team for like putting all of their bodies on Justin Jefferson, right? Like they just had him blanketed this entire game, and so they said, "Okay, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, you're up, man." And they went and had a big game. I mean, they opened this game too. Even with all that, they opened this game with a fumble at the 1-yard line. And then still managed to kind of put it together most of the game. I know they probably don't want that Fury Chicago comeback, but they put it together at the end. They got a big win, and they're 9-2 against a Chicago team that I do think has gotten some moral victories these last 2 weeks for sure.
Yes, but not actual victories. Definitely not those.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think you have to give credit to the Vikings as well for just having the kind of not melting down after that crazy comeback happens, right? They're able to hold on and still, in overtime, kind of put themselves back together and get a stop and win the game. Darnold did have a dropped interception in there, but I really did think he was really good other than that. And yeah, for the Bears, I mean, Caleb Williams, he's back to being inconsistent now, is what you say, because he had a couple of great throws in this one. I mean, one where he's running to his right, throws it to his halfback down the field. I mean, he made some great plays. Still takes, I didn't love the sack in overtime. That wasn't the play you wanted there. But like, you feel good about where he's at now, where you certainly didn't a couple weeks ago. So again, he's up and down, but at least that's better than just being down.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing is like, you don't want to lose to your rivals, and you don't want to lose to your rivals the way you have the last 2 weeks. But at the same time, seeing this kind of development, I think is just like, it has to feel a lot better than even the losing to the Commanders, the Cardinals, and the Patriots the 3 weeks before that. So I think these are now, you could take some moral victories out of this, seeing your quarterback play a little bit better. And you know what? He makes a ton of mistakes, I think, still, but he's also doing a lot of things to put them in positions to win games. Like, I think he's doing a lot of really good stuff there. I think he's throwing the ball downfield a lot more. It looks a lot more like he was when he was at USC. He's making some of those scramble plays that seem impossible. He is taking sacks, but he's making some of those plays now and they're hitting. And he's also getting the ball out quicker in like the design stuff and the pre-snap read stuff. So I think he's gotten a lot better at a lot of things just across the board. And he's put his team in a position to win games. So I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully the Bears, with playing this well, can make the Thursday the Thanksgiving game against the Lions competitive. That's what we need. We need them to do that, because we know the Giants Cowboys game stinks. We need the Bears to make that game interesting.
I don't know if anyone's making it competitive against that team right now. We'll see.
Yeah. Will give us, I don't know, give us like three competitive quarters. You can get blown off. The breaks can get blown off into 4.
Oh,
give us 3 competitive quarters.
All right.
What's up?
Nothing. Let's move on.
Okay. All right. I don't know what happened, but I will move on. Kyle, let's see. Where do we want to go next? Let's go to Chiefs Panthers here, which is how about Bryce Young?
Yeah. Looked good in this game. I thought he did very well. I thought he did very well against the blitz. I thought he looked very composed back there. Thought he wasn't afraid to throw the ball downfield a little bit. It was good. It was a good performance. I don't know, like this. It looked composed. It looked like a little bit of an older Bryce Young, older Alabama version of Bryce Young. It still wasn't perfect. I still think there was mistakes. And I don't think it was, I didn't see like an elite quarterback there, but it at least looks like something you could build off of.
Also, I'm now just completely thinking about what did I accidentally say when I was bumbling there. Someone said Freudian slip. I'm going to be thinking about this the whole time, Kyle.
Uh,
Well, you can tell me after the show, but yeah,
yeah, that's fine.
that's where I'm at right now.
No, it's okay. What did you think about the Chiefs Panthers?
Yes. I mean, I think two thoughts. For one thing, the Panthers are scrappy, right? I mean,
Mhm.
this is like Bryce Young looks completely different than he did pre-benching. I don't know what exactly happened. I don't know what's been going on, but this is like I mean, he looks like a very competent quarterback, if not just like a good quarterback. At least that's how he played today.
Yeah. No, I thought there was a lot of really good stuff. I mean, he's at least going to give it a position where that if they draft a quarterback, he's going to have a chance to earn the job still. Like, maybe they draft one and still say let's compete for the job and see what happens. I don't know. I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, but it's at least productive. And you know, I think that he's earned the job the rest of the season for sure.
Well, yeah, definitely that. I mean, you might as well, right?
Hmm.
I mean, there was a point when the Chiefs were up 8 points late. The Panthers were able to get a nice drive. Bryce Young converts the fourth down, and they ultimately tied a game. Of course, if you tied a game with a minute left against the Chiefs, that means you lose the game, right? Because of course Mahomes is gonna, he had one of his crazy plays. Kyle, my other thought is, for the life of me, I can't understand how people watch this Chiefs team and think that Patrick Mahomes is a passenger here. This is clearly like he is the nucleus of this whole team. Like, this defense didn't play particularly great. They
Hmm.
don't block well for him. They don't have a ton of receiving weapons. Like, this team is so much of just what Mahomes does.
Yeah, I mean it really is, and they take away his options. He finds Noah Gray. They just continue to find ways. He finds ways to be successful. I mean, let's put it this way. So we talked a lot about this season's team compared to last season's team, yada yada yada. We go back and forth on it. Like, we can't give this team the benefit of the doubt just because last season's team did it. However, I think if you're going to say anything about Kansas City, is this team is much more dependent on him than last season's team, and they were incredibly dependent on him last
Yeah.
year.
Hmm.
Like, I think, like you said, this defense is a real problem now. Like, they cannot stop the pass. They had 12 yards of completion in this game with David Moore and Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, Jatavion Sanders. This isn't like kind of playmakers you expect to go on Kansas City and have a lot of success. They still have the same receiver issues that they had last season, even after adding DeAndre Hopkins. Like, there's just not enough explosiveness at times in this offense. They can't create the big plays all the time. They managed to get a few in this game because, I mean, Noah Gray was just wide open on that first touchdown. I don't know what happened in coverage there. But yeah, I just I don't think they have the same. It's concerning. It's concerning. And, we can continue to say Kansas City finds ways to win, and that's what they're going to continue to do. But I just look at this team and say they're pretty good on defense and they're pretty good on offense, and they have an amazing player at quarterback. They have the best quarterback. So maybe that's enough, but I don't know if it is.
Yeah, because you think about last season. I mean, yes, they were very dependent on Mahomes, but they were also very dependent on their great pass defense. I mean, this is a team
Yeah.
that scored 14 points, right? Or was, I guess, 17 total points against the Baltimore Ravens, and that was enough to win. So, like, it wasn't just Mahomes last year. You're right. It might have to just be Mahomes this year. So you can't count him out because he's Mahomes, but that's kind of where they're at right now.
Yeah. That's just kind of where we're at. So I think it's I think it's going to be something that we're going to have to look at going forward. But yeah, I don't know. I'm probably going to pick this team to win every playoff game that they play.
Uh-huh.
But, like, I'm just not going to be shocked if they lose. Like, I think that the AFC is there for the taking. This is '06 Colts all over again. I said it before the season. Could this be the opportunity? This is '06 Colts, and this is the opportunity for a team like a Buffalo, a team like a Baltimore, whatever, to go out there and get that opportunity to play in a Super Bowl. Because I do think this team's there for the taking. I do think it is. Whether they could do it again, but I just think that there's an opportunity.
Yeah. Let's see. Someone in the chat saying, "Did we talk about the Titans yet?" We have not, but let's do it now because this was one of the two major upsets where I talked about Washington and Dallas. The Tennessee Titans upset the Houston Texans. Excuse me. The Texans are reeling right now. Will Levis played well outside of a horrific pick six that really, put them. They had a chance to go up 2 scores uh, at the start of the fourth quarter. Instead, throws a pick six that puts them down a point, but they were able to rally, ultimately pull off the victory against the Texans, who are reeling a bit. For them, playoffs still feel like a certainty almost. I mean, they're up in the division. They have the tiebreaker, and they still have a relatively easy schedule. I think as long as they just beat the Titans on week 18 and they beat the Jaguars next week, they're fine. But like, it's not looking great right now for Houston, a team that we thought maybe could be a dark horse in the AFC early on this year.
Yeah. I mean, this was the trendy pick, right? And I still think they are going to win the division, like you said, but it just hasn't looked very clean. The defense has taken a step back the last few weeks. And this is even a game where they had 8 sacks. Like 8 sacks in a bad defensive performance is really something to behold.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that they really struggled on the defensive side of the ball. They obviously didn't run the ball in this game. They had 40 rushing yards, and I don't really think CJ Stroud played particularly well either. So yeah, I think that I thought Nico Collins had a really good game. Nice to see him kind of get his legs going again and get moving. They gave up way too many big plays, which, Will Levis is a big play machine, whether it's good or a bad thing. And so, yeah, I thought it was a sloppy performance from Houston, and they deserve to get beaten this one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Stroud's going to get all the blame. Like, I don't think Stroud was that bad in this game. Obviously, the 2 turnovers can't happen, and there were some other negatives in here. He did make some really good throws too. That downfield pass to Nico Collins, another downfield pass to Tank Dell. But I think part of the issue is like, I don't think he's played bad necessarily. He probably just hasn't played as good as he needs to be playing for this team to be a real threat.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, they need him to be kind of a stud. And
Mm-hmm.
he's not playing like that, elite guy that they kind of need him to be. Otherwise, this team's just not going to compete. This team isn't built like a Pittsburgh. They don't have the most expensive defense in football. They have a good
Mm-hmm.
defense at times, but they don't have the most expensive defense in the league. They don't have all those weapons. They don't have all this stuff. They need an elite quarterback play to kind of lift everything around it. And I mean, to be quite frank, like, I don't think they have the coaching either. So I think that they need to get better around the edges, or CJ Stroud has to play up in, if they want to win a Super Bowl, he has to be probably in that Burrow, Lamar, Allen, Herbert tier, right? Or at least the Herbert tier.
Yeah, I mean, for them to, sorry, I missed it. For them to do what?
For them to compete in the AFC, he may not have to be in the Lamar, Burrow, Allen. He has to, at minimum, be in the Herbert tier of
Yeah.
quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, probably for them to really go on a run, he probably does need to be in that Lamar Burrow tier, right? Because that's who you're competing against. You're competing against Lamar, and I think Lamar has more help around him. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
of course, there's Mahomes and there's Josh Allen. Like, I mean, for this team to win a playoff game, which I still think they're going to get the 4 seed, so that probably puts you against I would assume the Steelers or the Chargers, maybe the Ravens. Like, you're gonna have to find I mean, for them to win one of those games, I thought they're gonna be like a touchdown underdogs at this point. If they don't start turning things around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd pick them against any of those teams right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough. How do you feel about the Titans? Will Levis starts to play well. I think Will Levis is just, given what's gone on around him, he's probably gonna have to play like great these next 6 games for him to really like get another year. I would assume, but maybe I don't know. Like, he's at least an option now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, I said it the last couple of weeks. I do think the last 3 weeks since he's come back from, I think it was an injury and benching situation there too. I think the last 3 weeks he has played pretty well. I think he's been
Mm-hmm.
decent. He still has mind-boggling turnovers, and
Yes.
that's probably he's not going to get he shouldn't be the first option next season. If they don't love the prospects, if they can't get another quarterback in the building, and he comes back, fine. But he shouldn't be your plan A, I guess, is the thing. But I think he's shown that he could be a little bit of a plan B option, right? Or a worst case scenario thing. Like, he has shown he still has the big playability. That 70-yard touchdown pass, like, the guy was wide open, but like he's made it some really nice downfield throws. I think he does have that in his arsenal. So I don't think it's anything to like scoff at, that he could get another backup job at least.
Yeah. And again, like for the Titans, I mean, I guess the one issue is Titans. They win a game. They hurt their draft stock here, so that's not ideal.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way.
So maybe that's good for Will Levis. That's what you want, right? You want to not let him get a good quarterback.
Yeah, you got to be the guy and keep
Uh,
winning games, man, and then make the decision hard for them.
right. I think that's exactly it. Any more thoughts on this game?
No, I'm good. Let's move on.
Okay, let's move on. Still plenty to talk about, although not a ton of games. Was a shorter slate here. Let's go to Cardinals Seahawks. I think this is the game we build as the most important game of the week, and for Seattle. I mean, this is back to back huge wins. I think you were looking at it as Arizona's pretty like clearly in the driver's seat. Now with this loss, I think it's almost like neck and neck between these two teams. It probably will come down to that game in 2 weeks against each other. If Seattle can pull that one off, they're probably going to win the division, or at least have a very good chance to. This is a huge win for the Seahawks.
It is a big one for the Seahawks. They do still have some tough games down the stretch too that may make it interesting. But I mean, all these teams kind of play each other again. That's a big part of it. Like I think the
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals still play all division opponents again, and the Seahawks play the Rams and the Cardinals again, both on the road this time. So that's going to be the big factor, I think, going down the stretch for these teams because they're all still within a game of each other, basically. So it's just not much separation. But yeah, I mean, this game was interesting just because of what we expected to happen and then what happened. Like, we expected more offense in this game from both teams. We didn't get a whole lot of offense in this game. It was the Trey McBride and Jackson Smith and Jigba show mainly because neither team could run the ball. And those are the two basically playmakers. And yeah, I thought the defenses looked terrific in this game. And, the big defensive touchdown was literally the difference.
Yeah, I mean that was the key play, right? It was a 7-3 game. The Cardinals had worked the ball to the 40-yard line of the Seahawks. It's 4th and 1. They decide to go for it, and Kyler had a player open. He had, I believe it was Michael Wilson, who was open there, and he just overthrew it a bit, and that
Mhm.
resulted in a pick six. I mean, if he makes that throw, they're looking at least making it a 1-point game if they get a field goal. That's just a backbreaker.
Yeah. Devin Witherspoon was huge on that play. Kobe
Hmm.
Bryant got the pick six, but Devin Witherspoon, I mean, the ability as a corner to get in the backfield, cover the bootleg on that one, you're chasing Kyler down, you contain there, and you get your hands up to force the bad throw. I thought he did everything on that play, and Kobe Bryant got the pick six. So, fantastic play from him, and I thought he had a good game overall too, along with like Leonard Williams having a monster day. But yeah, I mean, we saw some stuff from the Seahawks defense that we hadn't seen a lot this season against good offenses. So going up against this team, and Kyler still got yards, and I don't think he overall had a bad game. He had a really bad throw, like you said, missed the
Hmm.
guy that led to the pick six, and they couldn't finish any drives and they couldn't run the ball. But overall, like, I don't know, I thought Kyler did okay. I thought Trey McBride was awesome, and it was just really that play. It really was.
Yeah, I mean the running game was just it was. I think someone said like there's like the run success rate. They said every single one of the Cardinals runs was not a success. Was rated not a successful run. James Conner goes 7 carries for 8 yards. Trey Benson, the leading carrier, with 4 carries for 18 yards. It was tough. A couple comments. First, I like someone saying Jags are an embarrassment. That's just funny, and they didn't even play this week. I just like that as a comment. Also, someone said, "Is Jackson Smith and Jigba a Pro Bowl caliber player this year?" Kyle, is this your burner account?
Yeah, I'm here making the comments in the background.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Listen, I dropped the take last week. I let it simmer there for a little bit, and I mean he's passed him in receiving yards this season. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is the best playmaker on Seattle right now.
He's very good. I will say the defenses do not play it that way. That's what I will say. But he's been a very effective player for them.
Yeah, he's hard to game plan against too because I mean the way he plays in the slot and all that.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot. He's so dynamic, and I mean he catches everything, and he's having a real breakout season for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing about the Pro Bowl stuff is like, who do you? we always say like, oh yeah, sure, he's having a Pro Bowl caliber season. There's only so many guys that can actually get in, right? So I'd have to go through it, but he's
It
been
hasn't
very good.
stopped them before. They put everybody in that thing.
That's well, yes. I think what usually when people say Pro Bowler, they mean like gets initially elected.
Yeah. Do you think we can make the Pro Bowl?
I think so. Yeah, if we
Yeah.
want to.
What would be your position as a Pro Bowler? Long snapper?
I think quarterback.
Quarterback? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll have legally change my name to subscribe to Jackson Kruger Sports, so it can be on the back of my jersey. And I'll put it on the
Well,
screen.
at least you're not a kicker, so I respect that.
Yeah. Well, that's actually not a bad one either, because then you're gonna get some screen time.
Yeah, I would never make a field goal though. But I wouldn't get paid and have people feel bad for me. That's for sure.
If I just threw a ball up, like I don't know, maybe I could get a catch.
You think you can get one completed pass?
I think so. I think if I just threw the ball up constantly to, I don't know, here's Mike Evans on the outside, just constantly, he's got to get me one.
It's got to be like a shovel pass. You're not completing a pass on the outside. No
You
way.
don't think at all? No chance?
No.
Okay. I was thinking maybe, what about slant? I think see a shovel pass or slant, I can't get it over the offensive line.
Well, shovel pass is in front of the offensive line. A slant is, that has to come out with speed. The linebacker's going to be there before you even know it.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. Jump pass, a jump ball might be the move.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's your choice. I'm going shovel pass. That's how I get my completion.
Okay. Well, that barely counts.
Hey, man, if we're giving these quarterbacks credit for these like jet sweep passes, then I'm definitely going to guarantee.
That's what I want. That's a touch pass. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Yeah. Back to Cardinals Seahawks. Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals have another one of these fluky losses. Got to give credit to Seattle for being able to play defensively, and I mean, it should be interesting to play these teams good on the stretch.
Yeah. Both of these teams both have to play the Vikings still, and like I said, so many divisional games that it still feels like it's up for grabs. At least the Cardinals have the Panthers and Patriots to look forward to.
Yeah, I think it's as long as the Cardinals, if you beat the Seahawks in 2 weeks, you're fine. That should be an interesting game. Seattle probably needs to win that game. Both teams really could use that game, so it should be fun in a couple weeks. Let's go to well, we can go to my team, I suppose, Kyle. It's been a while since I've been able to talk on this podcast about a win, and it was I think it went as maybe you expected when it was announced that Tommy DeVito was going to be the starter. Baker Mayfield was just a maniac in this game. He has a play where he does like the Rosencopter into the end zone and then does the Tommy DeVito celebration afterwards. He is at one point when they're already up like 30 points running downfield to lead block for Bucky Irving. It is, he is who he is, Kyle. And Tampa Bay able to kind of handedly win this one.
Yeah, really win this one. Got back on the right foot, got all their guys back, looked really good doing it. And, coming off some of those really tough games, obviously losing the Atlanta game stinks. Losing 2 Atlanta games like that stinks. Competing with Kansas City, San Francisco, and Baltimore even at times in that game, and not coming out with the win. That's a tough way to do it. The good news is you guys are going to make the playoffs. You guys are going to make the playoffs because you have this opportunity in front of you with this schedule. The Falcons play the Chargers and Vikings next. You play the Panthers and Raiders next. I know the Panthers are plucky, but you're going to win these next 2 games, and you're going to be in the driver's seat with that division. So that's just kind of where I'm at. And then it's going to come down to the stretch where the Falcons do have the easier schedule down the stretch last few weeks. But I do think that the Tampa Bay is going to be able to get this and, take it home.
I'm a little less confident than you are. Maybe I'm just too nervous, but I do think that if the Buccaneers can get 10 wins, I think that will be enough. I think either the Falcons will drop 3 games or the Commanders will drop 2 games, and that gets them into the playoffs. The concern I just have is kind of like they said, you do have to beat the Panthers twice. They have looked scrappy. The Raiders were able to hang with the Broncos. The Cowboys beat the Commanders, and the Saints have always given the Buccaneers trouble. So, well, the Buccaneers are going to be favored in all 5 of those games. They have to win all 5, and that's why I'm not willing to say I'm certainly not willing to say it's a guarantee just yet.
Yeah, I'm not going to jump the gun on one Dallas game that went kind of crazy. I think you're heavily favored in 4 games. And then that Chargers game on the road is going to be tough. And then Saints to end the season is going to be tough. But I do think 10 wins is in the cards here. I would bet on 10 wins for them over 10 wins for Atlanta. That's for sure. And I know that Atlanta beat them twice. I don't care. I think this team's just better. I really do. When they have all these guys running the ball like they are, I mean, this Bucky Irving thing just continues to be
Mhm.
phenomenal. This guy's a big play machine, and they continue to put him out there in these good spots, and he's making some big plays. I kind of wish he was put out there more, but they want to do their running back by committee thing, and yeah, I thought it all looked good. They need these as long as these guys are on the field, as long as we're seeing Mike Evans, you know, Jamel Dean, Zion McCollum. As long as these guys are playing, I think this is the best team in the NFC South, and they should win.
Yeah, I think. I mean, the Mike Evans thing really helps. It gets it. He had 68 yards in this game, but it wasn't just the yards. Kind of like what we briefly touched on with Justin Jefferson and the Vikings. It's like it opens up the door for everything else. They're actually able to have some downfield passing here. There was a moment when Bucky Irving got the ball to the 1 yard line on a nice play. They decided to put Sean Tucker in to score a touchdown, and he did. And then it happened again where they're like, oh, well, let's do the same thing. Bucky Irving got the ball to the 1 yard line. He was a bit annoyed. He wanted a touchdown, which I kind of understand. They decide to hand the ball off to Sean Tucker. Again, this time he fumbles the ball. Only Baker Mayfield notices the fumble, so he comes out of nowhere to recover the fumble. Nearly got up and scored a touchdown as well. But so that was a weird thing. Sean Tucker, I think maybe he only had one more carry the rest of the game. So I think we're seeing more and more of Bucky Irving.
Yeah, that's probably the right way to do it right now. That guy's probably your second best playmaker.
Yeah. I think so. He was the second leading receiver in this game as well, just behind Mike Evans. And the defense looks way better too when it's. I mean, they need Jamel Dean. He's just having a number one. I think the criticism of Jamel Dean is he's always been a very good number 2 corner who's now being asked to be a number 1 corner. It isn't fully living up to that role. But like having a really good number 2 corner instead of like undrafted free agents there is just making a massive difference.
Yeah, I mean, shocker. Having your 2 starters is better than having 2 guys that, probably shouldn't be on fields that much. Having him and McCollum out there makes a significant difference. So, yeah, I think that is a fair take.
Kyle, as for the Giants, I saw some people saying, well, I bet the Giants feel stupid now with how this is going. Is this not exactly what the Giants are trying to do here?
I mean, probably. That's probably what they're trying to do. But at the same time, like, I understand there's the tanking element of it. However, it really just, like, sucks to watch your football team play like this. Like,
Yeah.
It hits a point where, like, nobody wants this. Nobody wants to enjoy their team just getting blasted week after week. Yes, you're going to want the draft pick at the end of the season. This is tough to watch. And, I do think it's the right decision at the end of the day not to pay heavy money to a running back like Saquon Barkley. But it also is one of those things where it's like, maybe you just want to keep your best player in the locker room just for like vibes, morale, and just say like, you know what? We drafted you. We developed you. You're our guy. Let's just keep you in-house, keep you as our guy, keep the spirits high, be our captain, that sort of thing. And yeah, we may have to live with this contract on a team that's not very good. I don't know. I just feel like that kind of means something too. Like, I just look at this team and it's like, is anybody happy here? Like, this is another one of those miserable situations. Like, who wants to be on this team?
Yeah, I hear. I mean, Malik Neighbors was when he was asked like, why he didn't get touches earlier. I think he said like ask Brian Dable, or he said like ask the coaching staff. I don't know. And he was, I think he even said at one point like, I didn't get the ball to the third quarter. What do you want me to do about how the game went? So like that's not good when your star player is saying things like that. Yeah, I agree. I certainly think in hindsight they should have just. I mean, I'm being a dead horse, but it should have paid Saquon Barkley and given the franchise tag to Daniel Jones, not the other way around.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we learned from that. We may see Drew Lock next week, I bet. Somehow Tim Boyle ended up back on a team after all of this, by the way. I just need to say inevitable. That. Tim Boyle is back on a football team. He's the emergency third quarterback here, so I hope he gets in.
Yes. Any thoughts going to Drew? Because the reason why I think it's a tanking move is
go to Drew Lock.
Yeah, like that's why I'm like I'm suspicious about this decision.
Yeah. Guess what? Drew Lock is like a backup NFL quarterback.
Yes.
Tommy DeVito is not an NFL quarterback. There is a different level to these two guys' play.
It was Tommy DeVito got cheered on the field when he first came on. That is why that is the other reason why they put him on. He is a fan favorite. he was getting booed off the field when it was over.
I mean, if you want to lose football games in an entertaining way and just want fan favorites, then just hire every Italian in New York to show up to the game and
Ooh,
play quarterback. Yeah,
yeah.
just pick a random Italian every week to play quarterback. If that's really what you want, then do it. I don't know. Like, just draft Italians.
Do you think they go for the shovel pass or they go for a deep shot on the outside?
Italians go big, man. They're going on the outside.
I think so. I think so as well. Yeah, fun game for me. Probably not a fun game for everyone else watching, but I had fun. Let's move on. Still got 5 games
Baker
left.
Mayfield's fun to watch.
Yes, that's true. The highlights were probably a good time.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he does. He's all highlights, man. No.
Yeah, Buccaneers also had 4 players with rushing touchdowns, first time ever in Buccaneers history, which is surprising because they had all those Mike Allscott years. So you figured that a fullback who gets touchdowns, running backs can get touchdowns, but no, this is the first time.
Yeah, interesting stat.
Yes. Let's move on. Let's go to Niners Packers. This game stunk. It wasn't a good game, but we have to talk about it. So this is the game you gave me early in my picks, which by the way, Kyle, I had a perfect Sunday. I mean, I'm on fire right now with my picks. Great stuff by me. But this was a game you gave me early on, and then immediately, like after it's announced that Brock Purdy's not going to play, which it was late in the week that happened. Dude, that was bizarre. Braylon Allen comes in, and I don't even think it was like a mess. I mean, we've seen worse backup quarterbacks, but they were already underdogs before that. This was just kind of, didn't really give them a chance. They had a couple bad breaks as well. But yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the Packers in a second. I just think the 49ers are done. Like, I don't even really look at them as a playoff contender at this point. They're 5-6, and they play the Bills, the Bears. That's a game they can win. But then the Rams, the Dolphins, the Lions, and the Cardinals. I mean, like they probably have to go like 5-1 in that stretch. They might go 1-5.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Those are really tough games. So that is probably the argument for it. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if this team finds a way to win the division just because of who they are and still, like, if Brock Purdy comes back, the amount of talent they have. But, like, yeah, I just don't know if I can bet on it. Like, we're just not seeing a competitive, like, team. Like, we look at guys like Deebo Samuel has just not played well this season. Like, Jawan Jennings has been legitimately their best receiver this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and no, not even disrespectfully. Like, Jawan Jennings is good, but like, you paid all that money to Brandon Ayuk. He looked rusty. He got hurt. And then Deebo Samuel hasn't been the guy you really needed. So I do think that's a bit of an issue. Christian McCaffrey has been slow to ramp up, fumbled in this game. I mean, the fact is, like, you had to put in your backup quarterback in this game, and he wasn't your worst offensive player. There was drops, there was fumbles, there was mistakes on just about everybody else too. So just too many issues, I think, overall. And yeah, I think I would lean on if I'm picking a team to win the NFC West right now, it's not this team. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm picking each of the other 3 teams over the Niners right now, just because their schedule is so tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an easy road to navigate, and they're not playing their best ball at the right time.
Yeah. Green Bay, Josh Jacobs, I believe he had the most broken tackles in a game. It was announced in the third quarter he had the most broken tackles in a game. Still had another quarter left to go. He was fantastic. He had more carries than Love had passes, but Love had a clean game, did not turn the ball over. So that helps for the Packers. He was able to make some nice plays in there as well. I mean, the reality is with this Packers team, any game that they win a turnover battle 3-0, they're going to look pretty good in. If they can, especially that nothing part, if they can not turn the ball over, this offense is a pretty well-oiled machine, and that's what they were able to do here.
Yeah, I think this team's good. I think it's good. I think they're my third team in the NFC right now. I think the defense has played really well the last few weeks. I mean, they lost that game 24-14. That team might have done the best against that Lions offense all year. So, they got that rematch here in a couple weeks, and I'm really looking forward to that Thursday night game, actually. That is a fun Thanksgiving game. So
yeah,
I think that game should be really competitive against the Dolphins. What we've seen from Miami since Tua's come back, I think that game's going to be fascinating, and I think that we're going to learn a lot about both of these teams and where they stand.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very much looking forward to that game, and I do have. Let's talk about. So you had the Packers over the Vikings. The Vikings have beaten the Packers this season. That was the game where it looked like it was a blowout, and then the Packers outscored the Vikings 22-3 in the fourth quarter to ultimately lose by 2 points. So what is the I think it's close between those two teams. What is the case for Packers over Vikings?
Um, I think the Vikings defense has cooled down just a bit for me.
Hmm.
And if it's not going to perform as an elite defense, I think it's a lot harder to bet on them. I'm still going to bet on. I'm giving Jordan Love more of a benefit of the doubt than Sam Darnold, and I think he's going to perform better in the playoffs. I think those are a couple factors I'm looking at. I think these receivers are enough to go at Minnesota, and then also just as far as the defenses go, because I think both of these defenses are still at least good. I think I'm going to lean more on the Packers secondary being better than the Minnesota secondary. I think Minnesota's more built on the front seven, and that's probably where I give the Packers the edge in that secondary department to be able to cover a little bit more of what Minnesota's throwing at them.
I don't know. I think I might lean Minnesota there, but I also have to say I think I might lean towards Sam Darnold right now over Jordan Love, just over the season. I think Jordan Love, if he has Jordan Love on his best day, is certainly better than Sam Darnold on his best day. But I don't know. I feel like I've seen more consistency out of Darnold.
He's been better this season, but I just
Hmm.
think Jordan Love. I don't know. I still saw what I saw last season, and I still think he can do that in big games. So I'm just kind of leaning on that right now and seeing that coming back in. I like what the Packers are doing. I think overall, top to bottom, this is a really solid team.
Yeah, should be interesting. If I mean, especially if the Falcons win the division and get the 4 seed, you really want to get that 5 seed if you're the Packers or Vikings.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even then though, like the 3 seed, like I don't think it's easy to play a team like the Cardinals or Seahawks, but
Hmm.
they're both of these teams are going to be favorites in their first round game as the 5 and 6 seeds, without a
Yeah,
doubt. It's
yeah.
just, was
Go ahead.
that?
No, you got.
Oh yeah, I just said they're definitely going to be the favorites in those games. It's just, they have to go on the road, which makes it tougher.
Yeah. Let's move on. We got 4 games left. Let's go to I don't know. All kind of blowout games. I guess let's go to Steelers Browns because this was not a blowout. This was a very fun watching game. I missed it live, but I watched it after the fact. We saw a snow game. Snow is always fun. This was one where it felt like Cleveland was going to just run away with it. All of a sudden, you blink and Pittsburgh has the lead, but then Cleveland able to take it back and hold on to it. We saw George Pickens fighting after the game was over with a Browns player. This is, George Pickens is creating a UFC level highlight reel this season. Kyle, what were your thoughts on, you gave me this game early on the Pick'em show. This is the one game I've missed this week. I was kind of like, what's Kyle thinking? Like, clearly the Steelers are the better team. Well, you were on to something. Never doubt Jameis Winston.
Yeah. Some of those crazy lines, I don't know. They just stand
Mhm.
out to me, and it's like maybe they know something I don't. Um yeah, I mean it was weird. Like like you said, it felt like the Browns were in total control, and then they had a couple turnovers late in the game that kind of flipped the script. Steelers took the lead, and then they managed to bounce back and put it together a really good touchdown drive to end the game after that punt. So um man, I got to talk about Pittsburgh. Good win for the Browns. Good for
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston, I actually thought played pretty well despite that turnover. Navigating through the snow too. I thought he did a really good job with, hitting Jerry Judy, hitting guys like, who was the other guy? Jordan Akins was the other guy. Had a couple big catches in there. Good job, Browns. This is a Steelers conversation.
Yes. Hmm.
I like I think that they do a really good job of game planning for teams like Baltimore where they are less talented and they play a style that allows them to minimize the talent gap between the two offensive sides, right? They
Hmm.
play a little less aggressive. They don't necessarily throw the ball downfield early. They try and limit mistakes early on and then catch teams late and just kind of put themselves in the conversation at the end of the game. And I think, you know what? Maybe that's the right way they should do things as they gear up for the playoffs. You should plan to play your games like you're playing against the Baltimore, Kansas City, Buffalo that you are the underdog against. However, I don't think you should play that way against Cleveland. And that's why they lost this game, because they were way too conservative early in this game. They did not want to throw the ball down the field. And then they were down and it started snowing like crazy and they had to go for it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just think this team's incredibly frustrating sometimes with that. Like, I just I don't think they should approach this game like they're a heavy underdog, and it just feels like they approach all of these games like they are the lesser team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they have a very specific style. I probably jumped the gun on putting them in my championship contenders tier last week because of that style. I mean, it's one that usually wins you a lot of games, but can have you lose dumb ones. Can have also have you upset good teams. But can it win you 4 games against good teams in the playoffs? That's the question.
Yeah. I think it's a problem. Yeah, I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know what it is because I mean, I do think like you look at these Russell Wilson numbers again, and I thought he played pretty well, but also like it felt like they barely threw the ball in the first half. They're down 10-3, and then they're playing from behind, and he's firing the ball downfield at times. I don't get it sometimes. I think that they needed to diversify a little bit more, and I just want this team to come out and play a little bit aggressive. Like I just don't understand the argument for why we can't do this. Why can't we come out firing early in the game? Why can't we throw the ball downfield and take our chances early and see what happens?
I agree. I also think part of it is like they didn't run the ball very well in this game. Najee Harris
Hmm.
goes 16 for 41, so that's just 2.6 yards per carry. I mean that's part of it. Like if you can, if the running game worked better, which it has earlier this year, then the offense looks better.
Yeah. No, I mean I get the whole conversation on it, but
Hmm.
I don't know. It's a very weird team at times for me.
Yes. Just when you think you have the Steelers figured out, you realize you do not. Let's move on. 3 games left. We can go to, I guess. Well, do you want? Sorry, Kyle. Your team is going to be the last one, right? Well. Then we go to your team. Why not?
Hmm.
We have a Patriots fan on the show. We can go to this one a little bit early. I mean, I think the bigger headline is just this Dolphins offense looks all the way back, right? You have Tua
Yeah.
doing like the behind the back handoff. I mean, you have a lot of fun stuff going on for Dolphins. Probably not so fun for you, Kyle. The Tua remains undefeated against the Patriots. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah. I mean, Tua was really good in this game. This pass defense continues to look like an issue for the Patriots, major issue, honestly. And 34-15 was probably doing the Patriots justice with this score line. They got a late fumble return for a touchdown.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think this team's not very good. They have this young defensive coordinator Covington that I don't think has done a very good job this season. As far as the whole coaching staff goes, I think it's kind of been well documented that I'm kind of on the fence with this group. And it wasn't a good performance. And yeah, I mean, Tua picked them apart.
Yeah, I mean, this Dolphins team, like they really could make the playoffs. I mean, you look at their schedule; they play the Packers. If they win that game, I'm putting them in as in a wild card spot. I think they would have a better chance than the Broncos because
Hmm.
they played the Jets twice. They play the Texans, who I don't think are a great team right now. I'd put the Dolphins over the Texans. You have the Browns, you have the 49ers, who I don't think are a great team. So like, it's no guarantee to get in. Those are still some losable games, but like they have a great chance.
Yeah, I mean, they can make that run. The tough thing is just going to be if they run out of wins.
Hmm.
you know, there is an opportunity for Denver to still get to 10. I think there's a pretty good path for them to get to 10. And then at that point, it's just a numbers game. Like the Dolphins drop one game and then they may not get in, but they do have the tiebreaker, I think, right now on division conference wins. So um, they could still get in with 10 wins too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, this team's playing some great football. They had a couple bad luck losses there that started this thing with Tua coming back, and they've looked really good the last 3 weeks.
I wasn't able to watch much of Drake May. I see that, they only scored one offensive score in this game. The numbers don't look great. How did he play in this game?
Um, there are still those moments that looked awesome. Like he's
Hmm.
still able to buy a lot of time and make some pretty nice extended plays. I thought he started this game terrifically. Um, we had after the punt, we had a long drive that resulted in a missed field goal. I thought he threw the ball really well on that drive, hit his receivers on time. We had 3 pre-snap penalties on that drive, and then a holding penalty also that moved him backwards, which is not what you want to do. Shockingly, but no, I thought he did a pretty good job overall at that part. There's soon going to have to be a conversation, obviously, about the mistakes he makes and putting the ball in harm's way. He had another fumble and an interception, but I also think we had like 6 pre-snap penalties in this game. We had more drops and more situations like that. And like, I still think just seeing the flashes of really good stuff from him is enough for me.
Gotcha. We have Owen Weston, not to be confused with Owen Wilson. Yeah, I'm sure he's never heard that joke before. Is this the worst bad beat ever? I had Commanders plus 4.5 to win $400. I originally put $10 into the parlay. Yeah, that's tough, Owen.
Gambling sometimes, man. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I mean, has there ever been a parlay that didn't go that way though?
Yeah, I love those 10 leg parlays that it's like, oh, if
Mhm.
only this team didn't lose by this much,
Yeah, it
happens.
also took a mirror. I mean, the roller coaster of thinking you have won and then having a not won is tough. But it took a miracle play for it to almost happen anyway.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
what a time.
What a time indeed. 2 games left. We can go to Broncos Raiders. This is the game that I was invested in because I locked up the Broncos at -5.5. So I'm rooting for my lock. And then there's this thing where all of a sudden Gardner Minshew gets injured. Desmond Ritter has finally figured out this Broncos defense, and he's driving down the field to see if he can score a touchdown. They get to the 1 yard line, and then Desmond Ritter gets sacked, and they just like let the clock run out. And I was very pumped up about that. They did not get the backdoor cover. As for the game itself, early on, I thought the Raiders were going to pull off the upset. I mean, they get a nice touchdown drive relatively early on. They go for a fake punt and convert it. This was I would say a good Antonio Pierce game. I think that this is what we thought we were going to see more of. Maybe what Raiders fans thought we were going to see more of. They did look competitive here, but ultimately, I mean, the Gardner Minshew, who gets injured, he's out for the season now. He did not have he made the interception in the second half that kind of allowed the Broncos to get rolling. Bo Nix, another very good day. Like, Kyle, we'll get to some of these other quarterbacks, but like, I just feel like with Bo Nix, I already trust he's going to do the right thing. Like, his numbers weren't otherworldly or anything, but like, I just trust, like, oh, he's going to throw the check down here, or he's going to throw the ball away because the play isn't working. It's like, you know how when you watch Stafford and you're just like, you see him like throw the ball away before you even read the play watching it. Like,
Yeah.
I thought Bo Nix, he's not quite there, but he's like, you trust him to make the right play.
Yeah. He's making a lot of the right plays right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sean Payton's done a really good job with this offense, and he is executing on all cylinders. And yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a sleepy start for him in this entire Broncos offense, but overall, they got going, and he made some really good throws down the stretch. And like you said, limited mistakes. And I thought that was a big thing. And I mean, he's really been doing that the last few weeks. So, I mean, he's making this a race. It's a rookie of the year race now. Who would have thought after what we saw Jaden Daniels early in the season? Because this is definitely a competition down the stretch.
Yeah, and it's certainly becoming. I think it's less about like just because of how good Bo Nix has been, but it's also part of Daniels is like falling down. So it's kind of like it's your both sides are converging there. But yeah, I agree. And as DG points out, I'm not saying Bo Nix didn't make mistakes. I'm just saying that when I typically watch him, I feel like he's going to make the right play. I trust him to make the right play, which is what he's able to do.
Yeah, no, he really has. And I don't know. Who would you have for rookie of the year right now? Is it still Daniels?
Yeah. I think it's Daniels still by a decent margin.
Bo Nix, 21 touchdowns,
I
16
think
passing, 4 rushing, receiving touchdown. Jaden
okay.
Daniels doesn't have a receiving touchdown.
That's true. That's right, and that is something I care about is quarterback receiving touchdowns. And that was a great rep by him too as a receiver. I gotta say he did not walk in for that receiving touchdown.
No, he is he's gonna finish the route for you for sure.
I'll say this: if
No,
there's an award for best rookie quarterback at wide receiver, he would get that one.
there you go. I mean, I'm sure we had a rookie convert to wide receiver this season, but no, I mean, I just think he
Possibly.
has made it a conversation, and if this team keeps winning down the stretch, maybe he does take it from him because their records are the same now. People love that quarterback win stuff, and this team is so interesting because they got a bunch of teams chasing them now. Miami has come alive. Cincinnati is still kind of lurking in the background, even though I think Cincinnati may be too far gone. And then Indianapolis, who did get a loss today, still feels like they may have a shot at it. And they have opportunities here. They're going to play a lot of these teams down the stretch too. They got Cleveland next week if they are in 2 weeks. No, next week. Sorry, because they have Cleveland Monday night, and then they got they got Indianapolis, Los Angeles, Cincinnati, and then end the season in Kansas City. Which who knows what Kansas City is even playing for by then? There is an opportunity here for Denver to get their wins and hold these teams off.
Yeah, weirdly, if you're a Broncos fan, you have to root for the Chiefs to win because you want to make sure that final game the Chiefs have the 1 seed and you can they can rest their starters. It might come down to like weirdly the 7th seed might come down to if the Chiefs play their starters or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it really could. But they could keep winning. I mean, if they win this if they beat the Browns, Colts and Bengals, like I feel like they're probably in. Like you said, I mean, who knows? Maybe Miami just wins out and just keeps wreaking havoc. But like
Mhm.
I do think 10 wins might actually do it and they'll be all right.
If Miami goes 5-1, which I think they'll be favored in 5 of their next 6 games, which doesn't mean they'll win all 5. But if they do that, both teams would have 10 wins. Miami would get in. They'd have the tiebreaker. So
Hmm.
that's the thing. So Denver, they're not a lock by any means, but I do think that you look at them and say they have a bit more margin for error. They're probably have slightly higher odds of making it than Miami, but I think it's close between those two teams.
Absolutely. And like I said, I just think quite simply, like outside of that Baltimore game, they have really played, I think, really strong this season, basically since that week 2 performance. Like basically from the Tampa Bay game on, they have looked really good in almost all their games except for getting blown out by Baltimore.
Any Raiders thoughts?
I say the same thing every week on the Raiders. Like
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers had a good game.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's move on. We talk about the Broncos and if they can make the playoffs. Another playoff hopeful in the AFC. The Colts lose. This game ended up. It was interesting. It was close early on, and I think I saw some of those tweets of like Anthony Richardson proving everybody wrong yet again. It did not last particularly long. Colts only end up putting 6 points together. I believe they only had 1 first down in the second half, so the Lions were able to kind of clamp down and do their thing. Let's start with the Colts, then we'll get to the Lions. Colts still have a chance at 5-7 if they can go on a bit of a run because they do have an relatively easy schedule. They play the Patriots, Giants, Titans, and Jaguars. Those are 4 or 5 games. The other one is Denver. So if they can beat Denver on December 15th, so that's in 3 weeks. If they can win that game, like they're certainly having a chance to make the playoffs. If they can get to 10 wins, they probably do have to win out to make it happen. Also, the division isn't out of reach yet either, but again, they probably have to win out to make that happen. As for Anthony Richardson, I don't know how you felt. So when he got benched, we weren't seeing the positive plays, right? We weren't seeing those like great downfield passes. We were only seeing the negatives and then neutral plays. We're now seeing the positives again, but there are still a lot of negatives of Richardson.
Yeah, there are still a lot of negatives. It's tough. Like he's been a very flawed player since high school. We've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he is physically impressive. There's obviously faults to his game. However, like I also think we got to talk about a team that has a lot of veteran players that are, highly regarded. Like this is a good offensive line, this is a good receiving core, this is a good running back, all that are also not helping this guy succeed either. Like you could say a lot about Anthony Richardson needs to play better. They had several big plays in this game called back for offensive penalties. I think they had
Mm-hmm.
8 offensive penalties was the stat I saw, and there was a couple big plays out of them that Richardson made that were called back. They had a touchdown drop by the tight end, not their starting tight end, but their other tight end. I mean, they just have so many plays like this where it's like, yeah, I think I could criticize Richardson. Like he clearly didn't play well going 11 for 28 passing. That is not a good game. But like sooner or later, we also have to blame everybody else on this team. Everybody else does deserve their own blame. These are guys that we highly regard in this team that are not playing good games. So I think that also plays a factor into this.
I mean, well, I don't know if I have to blame everybody else. Like Josh Downs is good, but I get your point of like
Yeah.
it's not just on Richardson, of course. I think where I would push back a little bit is like I think there are worse situations. You are correct. I think there are worse situations than the Colts to be. Like they still do have
Yeah.
good receiving talent. They still do have a running game. They still can block well. Like yes, you're correct. There's one play where Richardson makes a great deep shot that should have gone for like 40 yards, and the receiver just pulls an Xavier Worthy and steps out of bounds. Like that happened. But I think but I don't think I don't think it's fair to say like, well, what's he supposed to do?
No, I agree. Like he went 11 for 28 for a reason. Like he still did not have he still misses the easy throws. He still misses some things that look routine and he makes mistakes. But I just think at the same time like we criticize him week after week after week, and I think he deserves the criticism. But I also think the team also can deserve some criticism too, because we regard this as a really good position for a quarterback to be in. We keep saying like, oh, maybe they add Derek Carr and make a run at the playoffs, something like that. Those guys are gonna have to play better when Derek Carr's there too.
Yeah, that's fair. And I will say, I started this off. Yes, there are criticisms to be had. I also want to say, like, you're seeing the positives, kind of like what I said earlier, of like there are some great throws he can make. Like he's now looking back to being a raw prospect that you want to let develop, where he wasn't that before he got benched.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think he has some talent in him, obviously, and we'll see what happens next season. I mean, obviously they're going to give him more of a chance. I don't know. I know you said that their schedule gets easier and they have those games lined up. I just think the season's gone, honestly. Yeah. Like they've dropped 4 or 5 now, and yeah, maybe they go on a run here with the easier schedule, but like, would it shock you if they lost to any of these teams that we view as like their favorites against? Like at this point, probably not, right?
No, and that's the thing is, and we always do this where we look at the easy schedule and say, well, this team has a chance, but you also have to then win the games you're favored against. And like the Titans just beat the Texans, right? The Patriots, that's not a guaranteed win. Like none of these, there's no guaranteed game except for Week 18 against the Mac Jones Jaguars.
Is he playing that game still?
I don't know, but if he's playing, then that's a guaranteed win.
Yeah, that's probably true.
If he's not playing, then they're going to put someone in who wasn't good enough to beat out Mac Jones.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Or maybe Daniel Jones.
Yeah. How do you stop the Lions' offense?
I mean, I mean, well, the one way we've seen teams do it is by blitzing and getting pressure on Jared Goff. I think you force the running backs to block, because that's not something they do very well. I think you blitz a decent amount. And I'll say this too, like, I don't think the Lions offense completely rolled in this game. I mean, this was kind of a defensive win more than anything. So like, I don't know, like they covered well. Like the Lions are such a well-built team that like they can win games like this. But like it's not like their offense has been unstoppable every game. They're unstoppable when they play the Jaguars. They're unstoppable when they play the Titans. Even the Titans game was weird, where like every drive was starting in the red zone. It seemed like. Like you can stop them. Like we've seen teams do it. That being said, I still thought this was a pretty solid. Like it was a solid day by the Lions offense, but I think this was a defensive win.
Yeah, I just think the tough thing is like you probably have to get to like 27-28 to beat this team at this point. Like like that's a bad offensive day for them, and so it's going to be tough, especially with the way this defense is playing, like you said. And I don't even think I forgot the name of the second corner that stepped in because Terrion Arnold was out. I didn't even think he played that well, and they still played well defensively. So just seems like they're able to overcome so much. They overcame, they're not really getting pressure anymore. They did get 6 quarterback hits, but they're not getting sacks. They're not getting in the backfield enough, and they're still kind of overcoming a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They're a very good team. Again, not turning the ball over. They play good football. Like they know how to win games. I know that's kind of a cliche, but like Jared Goff knows, okay, this is the game where I don't turn the ball over and we'll be good. Like yeah. I mean, they're a very good team. The Lions are the best team in football.
Absolutely. 100%. I'm looking forward to this team down the stretch, and they just continue to dominate.
Yeah, they play. They have some interesting games. They play the Bears on Thanksgiving, and I don't think that there's some intrigue there. They play the Packers the week after. That is, it is the week after, I believe. Yeah, it's a Thursday game after that, and then they play the Bills following that. So some interesting games coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So they have, they're going to be tested. They're going to have to earn this 1 seed at this point because Philadelphia keeps winning and. It's not easy down the stretch with Green Bay, Buffalo. Maybe San Francisco's healthier at the end of the season and Minnesota to finish it off.
Yeah. It should be interesting. Kyle, that is our show. I feel it's nicer when we have less games. We can kind of get into it a little bit more. Next week we have 16 again, so that's not going to happen. We will be back Wednesday. What I meant to ask you pre-show. Are you still good for Wednesday at 6 p.m.? I know it's the day before Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll be good too. So we'll be back the day before Thanksgiving, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, to discuss all of the Week 13 games, and then we will, the following week we'll be back next week, same time, same place, midnight Eastern. Kyle, let them know you can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin, and make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, search On the Sideline Podcast. It should be available there. We have a comment saying, I would like a Lions Bills Super Bowl. You will actually once again be getting Chiefs 49ers.
Hey, I would like a Lions Bills Super Bowl too, because I predicted it preseason.
That's right.
Check the tape.
But I was the one who had the guts to pick the Lions to win it all.
You did. I had the Bills. So
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Another fun Monday night game tomorrow night should be fun. Kyle, any final thoughts? You're ready to head out?
No, I'm tired. Let's go home.
Okay.
Big weekend for Orlando, the city. How about that?
Yeah,
Orlando City wins their playoff game today. Orlando Pride, NWSL champions.
Yeah, it's good
the
stuff.
The city of soccer, man. We're back.
I was gonna think about going to that playoff game, but then it was Sunday. Couldn't go.
Yeah, I went, but yeah, it was a good time.
Nice.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it was a great time. So let's get out of here.
Yes, let's get out of here again. I think Drew just said Han. No one knows what we're talking about, but that's fine. We can. Some people will get that. Again, thank you, everybody. We do appreciate it. Until then, have a good one.
Peace.